March 14, 2024, 11:57 p.m., West Ridge High School. The night was hauntingly still, the air heavy with a tension that seemed to suffocate the very stars. Behind the gym, beneath a pile of garbage bags, a secret was buried, a secret that no one was supposed to find. But secrets have a way of crawling out of the darkness. The janitor's flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows as he walked behind the building, muttering about careless students and overflowing trash cans. But as he moved one of the bags, his hand froze. A shoe, pale, delicate, and still attached to a foot. His heart stopped, the blood draining from his face. This wasn't garbage. This was a body. Megan Sullivan, the golden girl of West Ridge High, dead. Her eyes wide open, staring blankly at the stars that couldn't save her. Strangled, the bruises around her neck dark and damning, a silent testimony to her final moments. But who would kill her, and more importantly, and why? The news shattered the morning calm, whispers turning into gasps as the word spread. Murder, in their perfect little town. Megan was dead, but Megan had a secret. A forbidden affair, a scandal that could ruin lives. And someone wanted that secret buried. Was it the teacher who risked everything for her love? The friend who felt betrayed by her lies? Or the boy whose obsession turned deadly? 3 lives intertwined by lies, by love, by jealousy. 3 suspects, 1 murderer, and 1 girl who took her secret to the grave. But who killed Megan Sullivan, and how far were they willing to go to keep the truth buried? Behind the gym, beneath the garbage bags, Megan's secret lay cold and silent. But the truth was just beginning to scream. Megan Sullivan was the kind of girl everyone envied. Beautiful, intelligent, and effortlessly popular. She moved through the halls of West Ridge High like she belonged in a world above everyone else. Cheer captain, straight-A student, prom queen in the making. She had everything, or at least, that's what everyone thought. But perfection is just a mask. And behind Megan's flawless smile was a life far more complicated than anyone could imagine. She was the golden child, the daughter who could do no wrong. Her parents worshipped her, accomplishments, filling every corner of their home with trophies, certificates, and framed photos of her perfect smile. But they never saw the cracks. They never noticed the exhaustion behind her eyes, or the way her hands trembled when she tried to live up to their impossible expectations. That's why she needed him. Evan Porter. He was everything her parents would have never approved of. Young, charismatic, unpredictable. The new English teacher who had taken the school by storm. Girls whispered about his charm. Boys envied his confidence. And Megan? She was drawn to him like a moth to a flame. It started innocently. Extra tutoring sessions, private conversations after class about poetry and literature. He made her feel seen, heard, understood in a way no one else ever had. But then lines began to blur. His compliments grew more personal. A hand on her shoulder lingered too long. A stolen glance in the hallway sent shivers down her spine. He was dangerous, but that only made him more irresistible. Megan was smart. She knew it was wrong, but she couldn't stop. She didn't want to. He was her escape, her secret rebellion against the perfect life she was forced to lead. She thought she was in control. But she was just a pawn in his game. Evan knew exactly what he was doing. He'd done it before. He was careful, calculated, always aware of who was watching. In public, he was the charming teacher who inspired his students. But behind closed doors, he was a master manipulator. Megan was young, naive. She never stood a chance. They were careful at first. Secret meetings in his classroom after school. Late-night phone calls when her parents were asleep. He made her feel special, telling her she was mature for her age, that she understood him in ways no one else did. It was intoxicating, but secrets are hard to keep. And forbidden love always comes at a price. Someone saw them. A passing glance through a window, a shadow in the hallway, a witness Megan never noticed. Whispers started, hushed rumors that Megan was getting special treatment. Friends teased her, jealous of the attention she got from Mr. Porter. She laughed it off, pretending not to care. But the anxiety gnawed at her, growing with every passing day. She tried to end it once, but Evan was persuasive, charming. He promised he loved her, that no one would ever know. He convinced her they were meant to be, that their love was worth the risk. Megan believed him. She had to. But lies have a way of catching up. And the more she tried to keep the secret, the more tangled it became. The closer they got, the more careless they became. They didn't see the phone recording through the crack in the door. They didn't know they were being watched. Someone knew, and that someone was ready to burn their world to the ground. Because in a place like Westridge High, secrets don't stay buried. They rise to the surface, hungry for revenge. Megan had no idea her perfect life was about to fall apart. She had no idea she was about to die. Because the truth always comes out, and sometimes it kills. The whisper started with Chloe Marshall, Megan's best friend since kindergarten. They were inseparable, two halves of the same perfect picture. But even best friends have secrets, and Chloe was no exception. She noticed the changes first. Megan became distant, her smile fading around the edges. Her phone buzzed at odd hours, and she always seemed to have a reason to be alone. At first, Chloe thought it was just stress. Senior year was brutal, and Megan was under constant pressure to be perfect. But then she saw the messages. It was supposed to be a casual sleepover, like they always had. But when Megan fell asleep, her phone lit up, a name Chloe didn't recognize. Curious, she picked it up, Mr. Porter. Her heart stopped. The words were innocent enough. Did you make it home safe? But the time was not. 1:23 a.m. No teacher should be texting a student that late. The pieces started to fall into place. The stolen glances, the whispered conversations, the way Megan's face lit up when she walked into English class. It all made sense now. Megan was having an affair with Mr. Porter. Chloe felt sick, betrayed, disgusted, but most of all she felt hurt. Her best friend had lied to her. She confronted Megan the next day, cornering her in the bathroom between classes. Megan's face went pale. She denied it at first, stumbling over her words, but Chloe wouldn't let up. She demanded the truth, tears of anger brimming in her eyes. Finally, Megan broke down. She admitted everything, how it started, how she couldn't help herself, how she was in love. She begged Chloe not to tell anyone, swearing her to secrecy. Chloe agreed. But trust once broken is never fully repaired. The secret festered, poisoning their friendship. Chloe began to pull away, watching Megan from a distance, feeling both disgusted and envious. Megan had everything. The looks, the brains, and now the forbidden romance straight out of a movie. It wasn't fair, but Chloe wasn't the only one who knew. Jessica Thompson was the queen of gossip, her Instagram stories the gospel of Westridge High. She thrived on secrets, and she had stumbled upon the biggest one of all. A video. It was pure luck. She had been hanging around after school, waiting for her mom to pick her up, when she saw them, Megan and Mr. Porter. She couldn't believe her eyes. They were kissing. Jessica's heart raced as she pulled out her phone, hitting record. She captured every second, the way Megan smiled, the way Mr. Porter looked at her. It was scandalous. It was wrong. It was perfect. She could have exposed them right then and there, but she didn't. Not yet. Jessica was smart. She knew the value of leverage, so she waited. Megan's life continued as normal, or at least she thought it did. She had no idea her every move was being watched. She didn't notice Jessica's eyes following her through the halls, her camera always ready. But Jessica wasn't the only one paying attention. Kyle Parker had always had a crush on Megan. She was the girl every guy wanted, and he was no different. He worshipped her from afar, too shy to ever say anything. But he noticed everything, the way she smiled, the way her hair fell over her shoulders, the way she blushed whenever Mr. Porter was near. He saw them too, the way they lingered after class, the way Megan's laughter was a little too bright, a little too forced. Jealousy is a dangerous thing. Kyle couldn't stand it. Megan was his, or at least, she was supposed to be. But Mr. Porter had stolen her, poisoned her mind. He tried to warn her. He wrote her notes, left anonymous texts, begged her to stay away from Mr. Porter. But she never listened. And then Jessica posted the video. It went viral within hours. The secret was out. Megan was humiliated, her perfect life shattered. She was the scandal of West Ridge High. People whispered behind her back, pointed fingers laughed. She was no longer the golden girl. She was the girl who ruined a man's life. Mr. Porter denied everything, of course. He was careful, calculated. He claimed the video was innocent, that it was all a misunderstanding. But Megan's reputation was ruined. She begged Jessica to take it down, but Jessica just laughed. Why would she give up the fame, the power? Megan's world crumbled. She lost her friends, her status, her future, but she still had Mr. Porter. Or so she thought, because Mr. Porter was a survivor, and survivors do whatever it takes to save themselves, even if it means erasing the problem. Megan Sullivan became a problem, and then she disappeared. No one knew where she went, but the dumpster behind the gym held the answer. Her secret was out, and so was her body. March 14th, 2024, 10:42 p.m. West Ridge High School. The school was silent, shadows stretching long across the empty parking lot. No one was supposed to be there. But that night, secrets demanded darkness, and someone needed Megan to be silent. Megan stood under the flickering streetlight, her arms wrapped around herself, shivering against the cold. She shouldn't have come, she knew that. But the message was clear. "Meet me behind the gym, we need to talk, come alone." It was from Mr. Porter. She had trusted him once, loved him even, but after the video leaked, everything changed. He stopped responding to her texts. He avoided her in the halls, his eyes cold and distant. He was protecting himself. Megan felt sick, the shame suffocating her. She needed him. She needed him to fix this, to tell her everything would be okay. But a part of her knew the truth. He was done with her. She took a shaky breath, her eyes searching the shadows. He was late. The wind howled, rustling the trees, making her shiver. She glanced over her shoulder, the paranoia creeping in. Someone was watching. Her phone buzzed. Another text, but it wasn't from Mr. Porter. "I know what you did." Megan's heart stopped. Her hands shook as she dialed Mr. Porter's number. Straight to voicemail, panic set in. Was this a trap? Had Jessica set her up? Megan spun around, ready to run, but she froze. He was standing there, Kyle Parker. His face was shadowed, his eyes dark and unreadable. She had never seen him look like this before. "Kyle, what are you doing here?" Megan's voice wavered, a forced smile on her lips. "Did you see Mr. Porter? He asked me to meet him." Kyle's jaw tightened, his fists clenching at his sides. "You came for him?" Megan took a step back, her pulse quickening. I just wanted to talk." Kyle laughed, a bitter sound that sent chills down her spine. "You never saw me, did you?" Megan's stomach dropped. "Kyle, I don't understand." "I was always there," Kyle interrupted, his voice low and dangerous. "I watched you, I cared about you, I tried to protect you." His eyes gleamed, wild and furious. "But you chose him. Realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Kyle knew. He knew about the affair, about the lies, about everything. He had been watching the whole time. Megan took another step back, her heart pounding. "Kyle, please, I didn't know. I never meant to hurt you." His face twisted in pain. "You ruined everything." Megan's eyes widened as Kyle pulled something from his jacket. A rope. Her instincts kicked in. She turned and ran. She stumbled, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she sprinted across the parking lot, her shoes slipping on the wet pavement. Her vision blurred with tears. She could hear him behind her, his footsteps echoing in the darkness. He was faster. He grabbed her, arm yanking her back. Megan screamed, her nails digging into his skin as she fought, but he was stronger. His face twisted with rage, with heartbreak, with jealousy. He wrapped the rope around her neck, pulling tight. Megan's vision darkened, her body thrashing as she struggled to breathe. "I loved you," Kyle's voice cracked, his eyes wild. "I loved you, and you threw me away for him." Megan's strength faded, her body collapsing against him. The world went silent. When he finally let go, she fell to the ground, her body limp, her eyes open but vacant, lifeless. Kyle stared at her, his chest heaving. He hadn't meant to kill her. He just wanted her to feel his pain, his betrayal, his heartbreak, but now she was gone. Panic set in. He couldn't leave her here. They would know it was him. They would find out. They always did. He dragged her behind the gym, his hands trembling as he covered her body with trash bags, trying to hide the evidence, trying to make her disappear. When he was done, he looked down at his hands, stained with dirt and blood. It was her fault, he told himself. She made him do this. As he turned to leave, his phone buzzed, a new message from an unknown number. "I know what you did." Kyle's blood ran cold. Someone else knew. The shadows seemed to move, the darkness swallowing him whole. He wasn't the only one keeping secrets. Megan's body was hidden, but the truth was still out there, and it was coming for him next. March 15th, 2024, 9:15 a.m., Westridge High School. The sun was shining brightly, its warmth mocking the chilling discovery made just hours earlier. Megan Sullivan was dead. The news spread like wildfire, whispers turning into gasps and gasps turning into tears. Their golden girl gone. Detective Lucas Reed stood at the crime scene, his face a mask of professionalism, but his eyes were sharp, analyzing every detail. He had seen deaths before, accidents, suicides, murders, but this one was different. There was a darkness here, a web of lies waiting to be untangled. The body had been found behind the gym, hidden beneath a pile of garbage bags. Bruises circled her neck, dark and damning. The cause of death was obvious, strangulation. But the question that hung heavy in the air was, who did it, detective? Reed's eyes scanned the area. No weapon, no witnesses. But there were footprints, two distinct sets, one leading to the body, another leading away. Someone had been here. Someone had watched her die. Principal Walters approached, his face pale, his hands trembling. "Detective, this is a nightmare. Megan was one of our best students. Who would do this?" Detective Reed looked at the principal, his expression unreadable. "That's what I'm here to find out." He turned his attention to Chloe Marshall, Megan's best friend, who stood a few feet away, her arms wrapped around herself as she sobbed. Chloe knew something. Reed could see it in her eyes. "Chloe," he approached gently, his voice low and calm, "I need to ask you some questions. When was the last time you saw Megan?" Chloe's eyes widened, her lips trembling. "Yesterday, after school. She was upset about the video." Reed's brows furrowed. "What video?" Chloe hesitated, glancing around as if afraid someone was listening. "Jessica posted a video of Megan and Mr. Porter." Her voice dropped to a whisper, her eyes darting nervously. "They were involved." The pieces started falling into place. A forbidden affair. A scandal that could ruin lives. A by motive. Detective Reed's jaw tightened. "Where's Mr. Porter?" Evan Porter sat in his classroom, his face pale, his fingers drumming nervously against his desk. He knew the police would come for him. They always suspected the teacher. He had been careful, so careful. He didn't kill Megan. He had nothing to do with it. But the video ruined everything. The door burst open, Detective Reed entering with cold determination. "Mr. Porter, I need to ask you some questions about Megan Sullivan." Evan's stomach dropped, but he kept his face composed. "Of course. Anything I can do to help." Reed's eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing. "When was the last time you saw her?" Evan hesitated. He needed to lie. "Yesterday after school she was upset about the video. I told her everything would be okay." Reed's expression didn't change. "And then?" Evan swallowed hard. "And then she left. I don't know where she went." A lie. Reed could see right through it. This man was hiding something. But was he a murderer? Reed needed more. He needed evidence, and that meant talking to the girl who started it all. Jessica Thompson sat in the principal's office, her arms crossed, her face defiant. She wasn't sorry for what she did. Megan deserved it. Reed leaned against the wall, his arms folded. "You posted the video. Why?" Jessica shrugged, her lips curving into a smirk. "People deserve to know the truth. She was a liar, a fake. And Mr. Porter, he was a creep." Reed's eyes darkened. "You ruined her life." Jessica's smile faded. "She ruined her own life." She looked away, her eyes flickering with guilt. "I didn't kill her, I just exposed her." Reed watched her carefully, his instincts tingling. Jessica was a bully, a gossip, but not a killer. But someone was. And that someone was getting away with murder. Back at the crime scene, the forensics team was busy collecting evidence. Fingerprints, hair strands, footprints. Reed's eyes fell on a crumpled piece of paper near the body. A note. He picked it up, his heart racing as he read the words scrawled in messy handwriting, "I know what you did." A chill ran down his spine. Megan was being threatened. Reed's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. A forbidden affair. A scandal exposed, a victim threatened, but who wanted her dead? He looked at the footprints again, his eyes narrowing. 2 sets of footprints, 2 suspects. One set led towards the body, the other set led away. Someone was there that night. Someone who watched her die. Reed's jaw clenched. The killer was closer than they realized. He turned to his team, his voice firm. "I want every student questioned, every teacher interviewed, and I want Evan Porter's alibi verified. If he's lying, I'll find out." But as Reed walked away, his phone buzzed. A new message. "I know what you did." Reed's blood ran cold. The killer was watching. This wasn't just about Megan's murder. This was about revenge, and the game was far from over. March 20th, 2024, 8:45 p.m. West Ridge Police Station. Detective Lucas Reed sat in his office, the walls closing in as he pieced together the twisted web of lies. Megan Sullivan was dead. The forbidden affair was exposed. And yet, something wasn't right. He stared at the crime scene photos, his eyes tracing the footprints leading away from the body. 2 sets, one belonged to Kyle Parker. The other, who was the second person? His phone buzzed again, another message. "You're looking in the wrong place." Reed's blood ran cold. The killer was taunting him, watching his every move. The door creaked open and Officer Daniels stepped in, his face grim. "We found Kyle Parker. He's in holding, says he wants to confess." Reed's heart raced. The break he'd been waiting for. In the interrogation room, Kyle Parker sat slumped over the table, his face pale, his eyes hollow. He looked broken, defeated, but Reed knew better. Guilty people always looked sorry after they got caught. Reed sat down across from him, his voice steady. "Kyle, I need you to tell me what happened that night." Kyle's hands trembled, his fingers twisting together. I didn't mean to kill her." Reed's jaw tightened. A confession, but something was off. "Start from the beginning." Kyle's voice was hollow, his eyes staring at the floor. "I loved her. I watched her every day. She was perfect, until she started seeing him." His face twisted in pain. "She chose him over me." "Over us?" Reed's eyes narrowed. "You were jealous." Kyle laughed bitterly, his shoulders shaking. "I was broken. She was supposed to be mine, but she lied. She used me." Reed leaned forward. "So, you killed her?" Kyle's head snapped. Up, his eyes wide. "No, I didn't mean to. I wanted to make her listen, to make her see what she did to me." His voice cracked, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't mean to hurt her, but she fought back. She screamed. I panicked. I just wanted her to stop." Reed's chest tightened, a crime of passion. But something still didn't fit. "Why did you cover it up?" Kyle's face went pale. "I was scared. I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want them to know about the messages." Reed's heart skipped a beat. "What messages?" Kyle looked away, his voice trembling. "The ones I sent, the ones that said, 'I know what you did.'" The room went cold. Kyle was the one threatening Megan. But why? "I wanted to scare her," Kyle admitted, his voice hollow. "I wanted her to feel as scared as she made me feel, but I wasn't the only one." Reed's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" Kyle's eyes darted around the room, his face twisting in fear. "There were more messages. After she died. They weren't from me." Reed's heart pounded. The second set of footprints. The second person. "Who else was there that night?" Reed demanded. "Who was the other person?" Kyle's face went pale, his body trembling. "I don't know. But they were watching, they saw everything." His voice dropped to a whisper. "And they wanted her dead." Reed's phone buzzed. Another message. "You're closer than you think." Reed's chest tightened, his eyes narrowing. The killer was still out there. He left the room, his mind racing. Who had the most to gain from Megan's death? He thought about Evan Porter, the forbidden affair. But Evan's alibi checked out. He was at home texting Megan until midnight. He thought about Jessica Thompson, the gossip queen who exposed the affair, but she had no motive for murder. Humiliation maybe, but not murder. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "The truth is right under your nose." Reed's eyes widened, his pulse quickening. Chloe Marshall, Megan's best friend. The girl who knew everything. The girl who lied. He pulled up Megan's call logs. The last person Megan called that night wasn't Mr. Porter. It was Chloe. He stormed out of the station, his mind spinning. Chloe was there. Chloe saw everything. Chloe was the second set of footprints, March 20th, 2024, 10:15 p.m. Marshall residence Reed banged on the door, his heart racing. Chloe opened it, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. "Detective, what's wrong?" Reed's eyes were cold, his voice low. "You need to come with me." Chloe's face crumbled, her shoulders shaking. I didn't mean for her to die. I wanted her to feel pain. I wanted her to know what it felt like to be betrayed." Reed's blood ran cold. Chloe knew about the affair. She knew Megan was lying to her. She knew everything. Tears streamed down Chloe's face. "I followed her that night. I saw her meet Kyle. I saw everything, but I didn't stop him. I let him kill her. Reed's chest tightened. Why? Chloe's face twisted with anger, her voice shaking. She deserved it. She lied to me, she ruined everything, she took everything from me. I was supposed to be the perfect one, not her. Reed felt sick, his hands trembling. Chloe didn't kill Megan, but she let her die. He pulled out his handcuffs, his voice hollow. You're under arrest for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit murder. Chloe didn't fight. She didn't scream. She just looked up at him, her eyes cold and empty. It doesn't matter. She's gone. And now I'm the perfect one. Reed's stomach churned as he led her away. Megan was dead. Kyle was guilty, but the real monster was Chloe, because sometimes the people who smile the brightest are the ones who hide the darkest secrets, and some betrayals never die. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our daily updates, and check out another shocking case.